Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's the day we start an ongoing debate that has been discussed for years. Who is the best Spider-Man? Is it Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, or Tom Holland? Each Spider-Man has left his mark on the character in his own way, and there's a lot of passionate debate about who did it best. So today, I've put together 12 categories to break down their performances, the iconic moments, and what makes each one stand out. After evaluating all the categories, I add up the scores, and by the end, you'll know who truly reigns as the best Spider-Man. So grab your webs and swing along with me as we dive into the Spider-Man showdown. Before we get into it, though, I do want to give you the categories for today. So, for the categories, we have suit design, web slinging and movement, personality as Spider-Man, personality as Peter Parker, best love story, villains and battles, emotional impact, best overall story arc, most comic accurate Spider-Man, best one-liners and humor, who will win in a fight, and best mentor moments. So now that we got that, let's jump into it. The suit design is the first thing we see in any Spider-Man movie, okay? It sets the tone for the character, and it's a big part of what makes each Spider-Man memorable. Now, Tobey's suit is iconic, okay? We can all picture it. The classic red and blue, the raised webbing, and the bold spider logo on his chest. This suit has stood the test of time as a definitive Spider-Man look, feeling very close to the comic book version. However, it does have a rigid, more practical feel, especially with the material and webbing. It's not as sleek or dynamic as the other suits, but it's simple and nostalgic. Andrew's suit takes things up a notch with the sleek, modern look, okay? The larger, more expressive eyes were a big design choice, really important, emphasizing the agility and youthful energy of this version of Spider-Man. The deep red and blue also have more of a textured and modern feel. His suit looks more like it actually be manufactured in today's world. It's the most comic book accurate in terms of color and shape, and the raised webbing gives it a great aesthetic that stands out. Now, Tom Holland's suit is the most high-tech and advanced, thanks to the influence of Tony Stark's Iron Man technology. With nanotech, built-in gadgets, and the iconic web wings on his arm thing, it's by far the most futuristic and versatile suit. However, though, the suit can sometimes feel like it's a little bit too busy with all of his added technology. It looks more like something designed for a young Iron Man rather than Spider-Man, which takes away from the simplicity and relatability the character is often known for. So for this category, I have to give Tobey Maguire a B, Andrew Garfield an A+, and Tom Holland a C+. Next, we're talking about web slinging and movement, which is essential to any Spider-Man performance. Tobey was the first to bring the web slinging to life, okay? His movements feel a little heavier and more grounded. He swings with great effort, and while his swings are slower than the others, they just feel more realistic, as though a real person is swinging through the city. The slinging moments were a bit more rigid and technical, though, especially with the physical limitations of early CGI technology. However, it gave Spidey a sense of weight, which I think many fans, me included, appreciated. Andrew's web slinging takes things up a notch with faster, more fluid, and dynamic movements. He flips and swings with an acrobatic grace that feels much more in tune with the physicality of Spider-Man from the comics. It feels like he's actually in control of the webs and uses them as a part of his quick reflexes, making him the most agile Spider-Man by far. Everything looks like it's happening at the speed of thought, which is really exciting to watch. But it feels more like CGI magic than anything based in physical reality. While the movements are fast and stunning, they lack the weight and tension that we got from Tobey and Andrew. The fact that many of his web-slinging moments rely heavily on computer effects makes it feel like he's more of a puppet than an actual person swinging through New York City. So for this category, I have to give Tobey Maguire a B, Andrew Garfield an A, and Tom Holland B-. Now this is a crucial aspect of Spider-Man, okay? His personality as the hero. Tobey Spider-Man has a more serious, grounded approach. His sense of responsibility is clear, but he doesn't crack jokes all the time. He's more focused on the struggles of being Spider-Man, and his moral weight is often reflected in his quiet demeanor. He's not the funniest, but he still has those classic quips in certain battle scenes that we all love. Andrew Spider-Man has that sarcastic, quick-witted energy, okay? He's constantly cracking jokes, especially to disarm his enemies or relieve the tension in the situation. This is a Spider-Man that embodies a classic comic persona, where he's constantly throwing witty remarks at the villains and making fun of them while still trying to juggle his personal life. And Tom is much more innocent and enthusiastic about being Spider-Man, often speaking in rapid-fire dialogue, showing his excitement. His jokes often feel more childlike or relatable as he's the youngest of the three. He's still figuring out how to balance being a superhero with his teenage life, so his humor is playful and naive. So for this category, I have to give Tobey Maguire a B+, Andrew Garfield an A+, and Tom Holland a B. Tobey's Peter Parker is a classic portrayal of the awkward, nerdy guy trying to juggle school, work, and his secret life. He's relatable. With that shy, self-depreciating nature, his awkwardness is what makes him human, and we feel his pain and growth throughout the trilogy. He might have a rough start, but you see him evolve and mature into the superhero he becomes. Andrew's Peter is cooler and has more of an edgy, rebellious personality. He's not as socially awkward as Tobey's, and he has more of an attitude, especially in his early days as Spider-Man. He feels more like a modern, alternative version of Peter, constantly trying to find his place in a world that doesn't quite understand him yet. Tom's Peter is the most innocent and chipper version of the character, okay? He's your typical teenager full of energy, enthusiasm, and passion. He's decided to be Spider-Man and wants to do the right thing, though he's often unsure what that even means himself. His geeky side is endearing, making him feel closer to the audience. He's young and real in a way that makes you feel like you're watching a kid grow up. So for this category, I have to give Tobey Maguire an A, Andrew Garfield a B, and Tom Holland A+. A superhero's love life matters too, right? Let's talk about the best love story here. Now, Peter and Mary Jane's love story is the heart of Tobey's trilogy. There are so many highs and lows, but the relationship feels genuine and full of complexity. From Peter trying to balance his superhero duties to Mary Jane constantly being caught in the middle, there are so many emotional moments. Their eventual reunion is a testament to how much they both mean to each other. Andrew and Gwen Stacy have one of the most heart-wrenching love stories in Spider-Man universe, okay? Their connection is electric, and the chemistry between Andrew and Emma Stone is palpable. The pain of losing Gwen makes the relationship all the more tragic and impactful, and their journey together is one of the most moving I've ever seen. Tom and Zendaya's MJ have a more subtle yet incredibly strong connection. Their relationship builds slowly and feels real, with no dramatic love triangle or life or death stakes. They're both just trying to balance their emotions in the chaotic world around them. Though it's less dramatic than the others, it still carries weight and meanings. So for this category, I have to give Tobey Maguire an A, Andrew Garfield a B+, and Tom Holland a B. Spider-Man's battles are legendary. Let's see how each Spider-Man matches up. Tobey has faced some of the most iconic villains in superhero movie history, okay? We have Green Goblin, Dr. Octopus, and Sandman. Each battle had personal stakes with some truly heartbreaking moments. The intensity of these villains and their relationship with Peter Parker elevated the stakes. The confrontations were often emotional and intense, especially with Green Goblin and his tragic end in Spider-Man 2. While Andrew Spider-Man had some standout villains like Electro and the Lizard, his best battle was definitely with Rhino in the final moments of the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Though we didn't see much of the actual fight, his biggest challenge, however, was the Green Goblin, whom he faced in a less emotionally charged battle than Tobey's, but still iconic. Tom's Spider-Man battles include a series of tech-heavy foes like Vulture and Mysterio, whose action scenes are full of advanced technology. And while these battles are intense, they lack the same personal connection that Spider-Man has with his villains in the past movies. His struggles with Tony Stark's legacy, though, make his battles feel more significant. So for this category, I have to give Tobey Maguire A+, Andrew Garfield a B, and Tom Holland a B+. Emotional depth is critical to making the character Spider-Man connect with the audience. Tobey's Spider-Man is often considered the most emotionally impactful because of the heartache, guilt, and sense of responsibility he feels through his journey. Uncle Ben's death and his strained relationship with those around him make his journey incredibly poignant. Andrew's portrayal of grief over Gwen Stacy's death in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is another standout emotional moment. It's heartbreaking and shows how personal responsibility weighs on Peter, which gives him a similar emotional depth to Tobey. Tom's Spider-Man has some emotional moments, but his stakes are often smaller in comparison to Tobey's and Andrew's. Still, his moments of self-doubt, particularly after Iron Man's death, are heartfelt and resonate with audiences. Especially me. For this category, I have to give Tobey Maguire an A, Andrew Garfield A+, and Tom Holland B+. A Spider-Man story needs a solid beginning, middle, and end. Let's break down their overall journey. Tobey's arc is arguably the most complete. He starts as an unsure, innocent teenager, goes through tragic loss, and learns what it truly means to carry the weight of being Spider-Man. His story arc culminates in a satisfying conclusion where he accepts his role as a hero and sacrifices personal happiness for the greater good. The sense of growth and responsibility is clear. Andrew's arc feels a bit more tragic due to his unfinished journey. He grows from a cocky, rebellious Peter Parker into a more focused, responsible Spider-Man after Gwen's death. However, the story doesn't feel complete because Amazing Spider-Man 3 was never made. Still, his growth as a character is one of the most emotional arcs in the Spider-Man universe. Tom's Spider-Man is a work in progress still. His arc in the MCU is more about finding his place in a larger universe, especially under the mentorship of Iron Man. His arc spans multiple movies, showing how he matures from a naive kid into a more grounded hero. His story lacks a clear-cut conclusion, though, as his journey is still ongoing. However, his emotional growth and moments of self-discovery, No Way Home, give his story just some more weight. For this category, I have to give Tobey Maguire A+, Andrew Garfield B+, and Tom Holland A. Now, comic book accuracy is key when determining the best representation of this beloved character. Tobey's Spider-Man is classic, but not entirely comic accurate. The more serious tones of his movies and the lack of quips hold him back from being a full comic book adaptation. That said, though, his Spider-Man still represents the core of the character with great responsibility and a sense of moral duty. Andrew's Spider-Man is by far the most comic book accurate in terms of looks and behavior. He nails the sarcasm and the agility of the character, while his relationship with Gwen mirrors their comic counterparts. The costume, movements, and humor are all straight from the comics, giving him the edge in this category. Tom's Spider-Man is certainly more modernized, influenced by the MCU, and while his enthusiasm, awkwardness fits the comics, the constant reliance on technology and the shift towards a more Iron Man-inspired version of Spider-Man detracts from his comic accuracy here. His character feels more like a MCU version of Spidey than a Peter Parker from the comics, actually. So for this category, I have to give Tobey Maguire a B+, Andrew Garfield A+, and Tom Holland B. Spider-Man is known for his humor, so let's see who has the best quips. Tobey's humor is dry and a bit more serious. His quips are usually in the form of defensive banter during fights, but he doesn't get the same comedic moments as the other two. He's more reserved when it comes to cracking jokes and doesn't lean into the classic Spider-Man banter as much as the other two. Andrew Spider-Man brings the jokes in full force. His sarcasm and quick-witted remarks of villains are some of the best moments of his films. Whether he's mocking Electro, teasing the Lizard, his humor is an essential part of his Spider-Man persona. This version of Spider-Man has the most classic comic book quipping that fans love, me included. Tom's humor is playful and often awkward. He throws out jokes when he's nervous, especially in the heat of battle. His humor is youthful and often feels natural, like a teenager trying to act like a superhero. His moments with Iron Man, especially when he's trying to impress Tony, show that his humor is more adorable than sarcastic. So for this category, I have to give Tobey Maguire a B, Andrew Garfield A+, and Tom Holland an A. Let's talk about it. If these Spider-Men squared off, who would come out on top? Tobey's Spider-Man has strength and durability on his side. He has some of the best combat training and is able to fight through the toughest situations. However, his lack of agility compared to the others may give him some difficulty in a high-speed fight. His sheer willpower and ability to endure may make him a challenge, though. Andrew Spider-Man has speed and agility that would be incredibly tough to beat. He can outmaneuver his opponents with ease, and his quick reflexes would allow him to dodge most attacks. He's also very tactical in battle, using his environment to gain an advantage. In a one-on-one fight, Andrew's fast movements would give him an edge. Tom's Spider-Man may have all the high-tech gadgets and advanced webbing, but his experience isn't quite on the same level as Tobey and Andrew. While he's incredibly resourceful and can adapt on the fly, his reliance on technology might be a disadvantage against a foe who's more physical and well-rounded in hand-to-hand combat. However, though, his quick thinking and ability to improvise could allow him to hold his own. So for this category, I have to give Tobey Maguire A, Andrew Garfield A+, and Tom Holland B. And finally, let's talk about the mentor moments, as Spider-Man's journey isn't just about fighting, it's about learning and being guided by others. So Tobey's mentor moments were often with Uncle Ben and Harry Osborn. Uncle Ben's wisdom resonates deeply in Harry's complicated relationship with Peter as layers of growth. However, there's no one directly mentoring Peter in his later films, leaving him to fend for himself more often than not. Andrew doesn't have a direct mentor, but he does take on the legacy of the Spider-Man persona after the death of Uncle Ben. This is a pivotal part of his journey as he learns through trial and error, ultimately accepting the role as Spider-Man in the face of great personal loss. Tom's Spider-Man is heavily mentored by Iron Man. Tony Stark plays a huge role in his growth, especially in Homecoming and Infinity War. While this mentorship helps Peter learn responsibility, some fans argue that Iron Man overshadowing Spider-Man. While this mentorship helps Peter learn responsibility, some fans argue that Iron Man overshadowing Spider-Man takes away from Peter's personal development. In this category, Tobey Maguire gets an A, Andrew Garfield B, and Tom Holland A+. Alright, we've gone through 12 categories, and after crunching the numbers, it's time to reveal the Ultimate Spider-Man. Drumroll, please. Andrew Garfield takes the crown as the best Spider-Man overall. While all three Spideys brought something unique to the table, Andrew's balance of humor, agility, and emotional depth makes him the most complete portrayal of the Spider-Man. So thanks for hanging out with me today. Do you agree with the results? Who's your favorite Spider-Man? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives and fun debates. Until next time, don't cuss me out. Bye.